Oh, I have more questions, so please continue.
Anyway, okay, my job was being the vice president of ancillary services, and I had all the clinical and non-clinical ancillary service reports to me, such as engineering, lab, and X-ray, and all these departments. That position is still vacant. We haven't filled that position, and I still perform, my duties under that position, which is not necessarily an easy thing to do, but for the time being, it will continue being there. So for select positions, yes, generally no hiring freeze. Doesn't make sense.
Okay. Now, last month you were talking about a trend of patients losing COBRA. You were speculating that COBRA loss was a reason why some payments weren't being made. Now it's another month past. Can you speak to any comparison and update on that?
The question was also asked at the Finance Committee because this month the uninsured rate went down by 2.5% as compared to October, though it's still higher than last year. And somebody asked at the Finance Committee, well, why? And my answer was sometimes you just don't know why. Sometimes from month to month, things will jump up a little, go down a little, and there is no way you can figure out exactly why more people walk through your door with insurance, or fewer people with uninsured. It's just you look at some of the cases that you see and you kind of draw a conclusion. Let's put it this way: this month we went down a little bit, so I'm not sure that the trend will continue to go up, or is the market recovering? I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing when they project unemployment rates and they think it's going to be this, and then it comes in at a lower rate, and they say, oh, something happened here. I don't know, but it's good though. This month is down by 2%.
Okay. I think around the time of the day of the city council appearance that you guys made, you had maybe around 9 days of cash on hand. Can you give a snapshot of where things are now?
Yeah, like 9 hours. Don't take this out of context, but cash in hand. And actually, you know what? I offered before the meeting. There is a report that I'm pretty sure we can share. I don't think it's a confidential report that the New Jersey Hospital Association puts out that includes all the audited financials, summaries of all the ratios and margins of 50 of their members, 50 hospitals. That's about 50 or 52 members. Yes. And that shows you cash on hand for every hospital in the state, all the county hospitals, margins, ratios, everything. And you're welcome to that to look at it, but I can tell you most places have cash on hand that is measured in days. Jokingly, when we meet with other hospitals, we met with Peter Kelly and actually with Peter Kelly from Christ, and we chatted with the CFO. How many hours of cash do you guys have? It's really not, as soon as cash comes in, either use it to pay a bill or use it to bring down a vendor that is out now more days than they should. So there is really, as soon as it hits the account, it gets spent for the most part.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, what was the number?
It's a little 15 days. Yeah, I mean, as soon as the money comes in, as soon as it comes in, you spend it.
So you're at 3, is what you're saying.
But we get cash every day.
I understand that.
So look at it,
You tell me the snapshot. I was asking you for a snapshot.
There's no cash reserve, let's put it this way. In other words, cash comes in and gets spent. Let's say you're at 100 days of your vendor in account payable. If you have more cash this month, you're not going to build up 15 days or 20 days of cash. What you're going to do is you're going to take the cash immediately and pay down your vendors. So it's really, you could build up cash, but then on the other hand, you're not paying your vendors. You can't do that. You can't build up cash. You know what I mean? So there is really, we don't keep a cash reserve.
Okay.
Did I say that correctly?
Okay.
I mean, is that at any time, though? I mean, with the recovery plan, with the severe cuts in salary, is that remain the philosophy of the finance department to have a minimal cash on hand?
Yeah, it's going to be next year. You're not going to see a huge jump in cash. Since what we're looking to do next year is not to lose any more money and stabilize the operation, but you're not going to suddenly see a ton of cash. What's going to happen is whatever we save and comes in will be used to pay down as much as we can on our accounts payable, which are at 100 and some days. Now, which is not very unusual for hospitals. Again, those ratios you can see where hospitals are with accounts that's what you gotta do, you gotta keep paying those vendors off, so that we don't get, because this is decided after several times, any of your vendors on COD, terms, and no, they're not, but we don't wanna get there. So, that's how we use it.
Okay, but when you...
Also, under terms of the agreement between the authority and the hospital, the manager, any cash at the end of the month is actually supposed to be returned to the authority. They're only supposed to be paid what the monthly draw is. So it's not intended for them to have any type of reserves at all.
Right, but we're talking a little bit different. I think we're kind of dancing around the question. I mean, when you go to sleep at night, you kind of want to know how many days of cash on hand. And when you contact Vinny by phone, say,
You're talking about something different. You're talking about based on our cash flow, can you continue to meet your expense obligations? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm just talking about at any given time. I mean, you do an end-of-month snapshot. Maybe you do a weekly review with your financial staff. I was just asking that question. I didn't even ask you when the snapshot was. I allowed you to frame the snapshot. So anyway, I think you guys answered that, unless, Vinny, you had something to add.
At any given time, we have a few days cash on hand. However, we're still able to meet our obligations because cash flow comes in, and we pay our vendors and we make payroll payments as necessary.
Okay. I'd like to switch quickly to the bonds. I understand that there was some conference call about the bonds. One of the issues that came up last time was about insurance on the bonds. Can anybody answer who's the beneficiary of that insurance? Is it the bondholders themselves? Because I don't think it's the city.
No, it is the bondholders.
It is the bondholders, okay. Is there any additional information from the last meeting that we had that people might be interested in terms of the bonds?
Well, I wasn't at the last meeting, but if you want to ask me specifics about the bonds, I can try to answer.
Okay, maybe by email would be good. You're talking about the vendors' costs. Have there been, before you're talking about collections and collecting money and interest, is the hospital having to pay any interest to vendors because of late payments?
Let me answer this so that none of my vendors come to me. Let's put it this way. They would like us to, but it's a one-on-one negotiation. Certainly it doesn't help to the outset much, and this is the case with Maple State. You explained to them that the hole that was created by not funding us early on is not going to get smaller. It itself, it tends to grow because you miss out on discounts, prompt pay discounts, and in some cases there are interest payments. But without going on record, whether we're not eager to pay those, and for the most part, our vendors are working.
Okay. Thank you.
I hope I wasn't too evasive on the last answer, but I don't want to come there and say, hey, wait a second.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
You told me I'm not going to get it.
I think it also comes down to the competitiveness of other hospitals.
Yeah, you know what, there are vendors that, here's the reality with the vendors. The vendors have a much broader picture of things than you and I have. We talk to the association, so we kind of get a sense of where everybody is, but they have a much better picture of where everybody is because they're in many hospitals, and so they know what your relative risk is to somebody else's relative risk and how bad, how many days out there and how many days are here. So they've been very, very cooperative, and we've had no real major issues with working with them one-on-one.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to pick up on the bond question, maybe reframe it. It was either the last meeting or the one before, perhaps. It was a representation was made, or it was suggested that if the hospital were to default on the bond payments, that the city of Hoboken needn't worry because the issue is insured. Now, my understanding is typically the insurer will make sure that the bondholders continue to get their payments, but then they will turn around and try to get the money from the city. Is that correct? I mean, it all seems, it sounded too good to be true. It's like we needn't worry about it because it's insured, so if we default, the insurer would pay the $52 million, but that sounds a little bit too good to be true.
Well, Mrs. Desai is a resident expert on bonds, and I think she will part of this conference call, so I'm not going to even try to answer that question. This is outside my personal expertise.
Well, that's an instant out. I wish it was that way, but it's not. The bonds have three levels of security. The first revenues cannot cover the bond payment, the city steps up. If for some reason the city decides not to cover that obligation, then the bond insurer steps up. And
Right.
the payments will always go to the bondholder, never to the city.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What I thought I'd heard didn't really make sense before, but.
I think you heard that from the crowd. I don't think anyone on the